If you're familiar with me or any of the projects I have done in the past, you'll probably know that you're in for one goofy, sarcastic project in the works right now, and that's going to be extra true today in this video that I'm making now, because I'm doing this in my dorm room's laundry room because they're watching a movie in my dorm right now and I don't want to disturb them. They're watching some horror film and I don't want to disturb them, so we're doing this in the laundry room and we're just gonna get right into it. So Genesis is the book of the Bible I've read the most, simply because I don't know how many times I've said to myself, I'm going to read the Bible all the way through, only to get to about Lamentations and get bogged down and just stop. It's a vicious personal cycle, but there's a lot of cool things about Genesis, and it has a lot of key moments. But I'm really going to focus on some of the key players of Genesis 4 to be exact. One of the best parts about taking a class with my current professor, Dr. Boyd, who this class and this video is actually intended for, but is the one thing that I really like is that he likes the final project to be something that the student decides, something that they're kind of passionate about, and something that they care about. I've seen so many creative little examples, i.e. trading cards, people who've written songs, poems. I've even seen a cookbook done about the 12 minor prophets, and if you've been on this channel before, if you're familiar with me, this video right here is actually a final project for another one of Dr. Boyd's class, which I would honestly highly recommend if you are at my university and looking for classes to take. Anyway, the creativity has never ceased to amaze me, and so I looked at this project and was like, alright, what are a couple things that I really enjoy doing that I can kind of throw my passion onto this project? And that would be one, video editing, so you're seeing me within the four walls of your screen here, which is nice. But then another thing that I really enjoy is Dungeons and Dragons. I really enjoy playing the game with my friends, and it's just a really fun pastime. So I said, you know what, how can I combine Genesis and D&D? So, something I'm going to do is going to take four of the main players of Genesis, and then I'm going to assign them a D&D class, as well as some of the D&D spells, if that's applicable, and then a feat that would go along that's kind of explainable within their biblical story. And I do know this does sound like a bit blasphemous, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, biblical figures and Dungeons and Dragons, I mean, anybody who is into the hobby and has lived with, or grown up around, kind of Christian mothers, has been made well aware of the D&D scare that was it's a gateway to satanic activities. I am confident in my abilities, and I am very confident that I can, separate a fantasy game from real life in my own walk with Christ. So with that little disclaimer out of the way, we're gonna dive right into the four people that I've given D&D classes for. So let's rock. So for those who don't play D&D and are watching this video and are wondering what is he going on about, so when you create a character in D&D, you decide kind of two things. First, what kind of species you want to be, and that can range from anywhere from elves, dwarves, lizard people, and mythical creatures, whatever. I'm not focusing on that because for my sake, they're just all going to be human. We're just going to rock with that because honestly, I feel like picking something else would just be weird. A class, a D&D class, is kind of the role that your character would play. It determines some of their skills, kind of what their backgrounds would be like, some equipment that they're able to use, certain spells sometimes, and then the phrase multi-classing, which will come up, is just choosing two or more of the classes to play with a single character at a time. So with that nice little explanation out of the way, we're going to start with Noah. And I know what you're thinking, there's a lot of Bible before the flood, and yes, there is. Creation, Fall of Babylon, Cain and Abel, really actually cool parts of the Bible. You should read them. You really should, they're nice. My favorite part of creation is all the animals. I love animals. Anyway, Noah. So we're going to get into Noah, so I'm going to step over here so I can put some facts on here. So Noah, his class would be a multi-class actually, an artificer and a druid. So the artificer comes into play with him building an ark. So artificers are the engineers of this D&D world, and Noah was kind of God's engineer to build this ark. So that's where that comes into play. So Noah was given the plans to build the ark from God, and he built it and gathered up every
2 of every creature, which leads us into the second class, which is a druid. Their specialty lies within nature and kind of animals. So in Noah's case, that would be animal handling. It takes some dedication and know-how to take care of that many animals on a boat and your own family for 40 days and 40 nights. Honestly, this guy had some really good stamina, some know-how, and probably a lot of patience. So moving on to the spells for Noah. So spell number 1 would be Guidance. So this spell, so you touch one willing creature once before the spell ends. Target can roll, blah blah blah. Essentially, it's just it's a help thing. It's like you have the know-how in order to help somebody complete a task. So Noah has that know-how in order to keep everything running smoothly on this arc for 40 days and 40 nights, and even after, he has the know-how in order to help restart the world that God has made. So, and then the second spell that Noah would have would be Animal Friendship. I'll put the description up here. Basically, you can make friends with animals. Is kind of how this works, and kind of self-explanatory with Noah being on the ark with all these animals. They would need to trust him at least just a little for him to kind of help them out, like during this 40 days, 40 nights period, so they can all survive. And then a feat. So we're going to move on to the feat. I'm going to give a quick explanation and then we'll get on with it. So a feat is kind of just like a special skill you can choose for your character. I looked at all these lists of feats and decided that Noah, he would have the feat called Keen Mind. You have a mind that can track time, direction, and detail with uncanny precision. So keeping track of all those details, he needed to know about building the ark, maintaining the ark and animals, as well as keeping track of time, 40 days and 40 nights, and then knowing to send out his little dove messenger to find that olive branch, or whatever branch it was. I could just be mixing things up. And that's what we have Noah. So Noah is our lovely artificer druid. And that's number 1. So next we're going to be moving on to Abraham.
So Abraham's class in D&D, I have decided would be a cleric. So cleric is a holy figure in the D&D world. They're devout followers of a certain deity. In this case, Abraham would be following the one true God Yahweh in his case. Simple enough, self-explanatory. So the 2 spells that Abraham would have are Bless and then Protection from Evil. So Bless, here's your spell description, blessing of the 3 creatures of your choice, and then other game stuff. So a reason within this one is because Abraham has been blessed by God, and then he will in turn bless the whole world through him. So I figured that would be a fun explanation for picking this one. And then his second one, Protection from Evil. Again, here's your little spell description. And I chose this one because God has chosen Abraham and his family to carry out the plan of redemption. And through him, he's making sure that Abraham's family is continued and protected, so that they're in the right place at the right time, and so on and so forth. So he is protected through God's plan. And then Abraham's feat would be Inspiring Leader, because he has inspired his lineage to kind of follow God, and that inspiration has special benefits, but as well as just continuing out this plan. He kind of started this whole lineage in order to complete God's plan.
I did not account for how warm it was going to get in this laundry room, so I'm going to try and speed things up while still nailing my details down, because I feel like I'm going to pass out while I'm in here, so we'll see how far I go. So Jacob is our next person of discussion, and I chose for his class, he would be a rogue. So they're known for being charismatic, or being able to use kind of like persuasion, trickery, and kind of sneaking is their main thing. And I chose rogue for Jacob because he was able to use trickery to deceive his father, brother, and Laban, and he was able to successfully outsmart and sneak away from Laban after marrying Leah and Rachel. So rogues don't use spells, so we're just going to have to move on from that. But Jacob would have the feat of Grappler, so basically making it easy for him to be engaged in like close combat, simply because he was wrestling with the angel and
that is kind of self-explanatory of just being in close quarters, grappling onto somebody and wrestling with them is kind of how that works. That is rather short without spells. Moving on anyway. So next we're talking about Joseph, like amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat Joseph, not Jesus' father Joseph. That comes way later. It's not even in Genesis. It's not even in the Old Testament. That's New Testament. Way down the line. Way down the line. Don't need to worry about that for a while. But Joseph, he would be a multi-class. Once again, cleric, because of that holy devout follower of God. But then a wizard, and specifically a divination wizard. So this would be the reading dreams part of Joseph's given ability from God. So that is why he is that multi-class. Joseph, one of his spells would be detect poison and disease, because he predicted that one of the prisoners in Pharaoh's court would die because he put poison into Pharaoh's cup, and that's what executed for an assassination attempt. But then he would also have the spell haste, because when Potiphar's wife tried to, seduce him, he just bolted. So haste just is kind of like makes it faster. So I think that's just kind of just a fun little I don't know how to. I chose these because they made sense contextually, and that's what I'm basing this off of. So, gosh, it is so warm. All right, the last thing I need to talk about is Joseph's feat. So he would have the feat of resilient. So this gives a player advantage on wisdom saving throws and kind of other things, but it makes sense because throughout all of the trials that he was put through, being sold into slavery, being in prison, and then having to be in charge of a portion of the Pharaoh's court, he was resilient and then put his faith in God, which allowed him to push through all of those troubles and all of those tests and trials and have him come out on the other end stronger and a better man at the end of it.
Okay, so there we have it. It's a fun little comparison idea. Thinking about all these characters, honestly, though, I did think of the idea, so that kind of makes God the DM of all of their stories, which does make sense because he created the world, he's in charge of everything, and he knows what's going to happen, which is kind of the best part of everything. So, but the main difference is that God does not need 5 months of planning to get everybody together to play a session. That's only us. So, but anyway. That's about it. See you around, folks. Remember to stay hydrated. I need water. It is warm in here. I'm gonna get a thermometer. I want to know how hot it is in here.